of this DMCA free playlist. I have found it. I have found it. Let's do it. And we're gonna get to see it. We're gonna get to see it right out the gate. CintrianLion taking for obviously it's a blue coin list because of the you want the cursed scroll. That's exactly what we're seeing. CintrianLion needing to figure out how to mulligan here. So we're gonna see the mulligan factor slow down a bit because you really need to think hard about what you want or don't want to play. So CintrianLion will get to put the Smorkvarg at the bottom of the deck if that's the motive. Could hold on to it for later, but yeah, Ansi, I like that. Got it right. Shoop, Compass, Redea in opening hand blue coin. Hashtag feels good, man. Meanwhile, Mistikal has Lara, Hivemind, Gels all in hand, Serquan, and the Tatterwing Heatwave. So this is going to be great. I'm so excited. I have big excitement energy right now, chat. I'm so excited. So we see using one of the scrolls for Triss, which makes a ton of sense.
I will not let this become a second sight.
I assume you want the Flaminica in hand. There's the Flaminica, which is K Tremendo already. I'm jamming. This is great. A great day to be alive. Yeah, I think the Serpent is probably the card that gets kicked with the Cursed Scroll here. The Squirrel in hand is also really nice for CintrianLion because there's so many... There's Echo cards, and there's so much shit that you... Between the Hivemind... There's the Hivemind, there's the Ardgaith that you want to get rid of as well. So we see the Red Sword in hand. I assume that the Serpent gets... the Half-Root gets clapped here. Sure. And the Red Sword gets played just to take out a drone. Sure. There will be no calming down here, Spud. No one can be calm under these circumstances. Not any sane person, anyway. CintrianLion, of course, opts to row stack, knowing that the frost is out there. Jams the Shoop. Takes Shoop Resiliency. Opts to play it front row, playing potentially into an Ardgaith or a Red Riders, but opting to split the rows so that it doesn't take the damage here. Challenging Mistikal to play those cards. This potentially could be to tease out the Ardgaith, which then gets squirreled away. Wisp is for another go wide with the Arrakis Nest. And there it is, round one Lippy to dump your entire deck. Which means you can also now play a Compass round one as well. That's so funny. So the Erendite goes back to the top of the deck. So CintrianLion will draw 3 cards here. So there's no fear of that. But we see the Delirium to be an Echo card as well to build the deck.
sends blessings.
Melusine sends blessings. CintrianLion still looking here for a squirrel target. Finds one. This could be the squirrel target. Could also be for Argaith. Mistikal opts to play a leader charge here to get the Kikimor Stalker out of serpent range. But in doing so brings back a seagull. Which ironically enough is points now, but makes the Flaminica 1 point worse. We do see the squirrel come down on the hive mind. And there's the Lara, which can now be killed with the Kikimor Stalker. CintrianLion ahead big here. We see the early compass for the Krakenborg. Oof, Papo, that's a lot of points. And just like that, CintrianLion is right back ahead. Now, Mistikal has this heat wave in hand. So, the corrupted Flaminica will get heat waved if Mistikal plays all the way down. But we should see an Argaith here, which will get Mistikal back ahead because Lara's busted. And that immediately procs the Lara. It also boosts the Kraken, which makes it so now the serpent doesn't kill it on this turn, on the next turn, which it would have. And now the question with CintrianLion is we know that Mistikal has the heat wave, which can really break the strat of this deck. But CintrianLion doesn't know that. A lot of the consistency cards have been played. There's the insta heat wave. And are we going to see leader here and hope and pray? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the messenger goes up by 7. So it'd be double leader here. You have to play double leader if you're CintrianLion, unless your first leader ping lucks into the Kraken. If it hits one ping on the Kraken, you're going to have to... You're going to have to play both leaders here, I think, to guarantee it, right? It's 8 plus 7 is 15. Would get you to 51. Nope, didn't get it there. Is that enough? So I do math like shit. It's 1 leader charge. I don't know how I got the math that wrong, but here we are. And the round 1 Tatterwing, so both players, huge spend. Mistikal, though, wins on even. Doesn't have to commit the Morvad. And now the problem for... now the problem for CintrianLion is that you need you're gonna have to go down another card here if Mistikal passes, because you discard the Hen Guided Sword so that you have 3 cards, you draw into 3 cards, but then you'll need to play the Delirium in order to put a unit on the board. So if Mistikal dry passes here, then yeah, that's... Okay, so we see just the Delirium and opts to go down a card this way, holds on to the Hen Guided Sword. We'll only draw 2... Oh, and does do... Okay, so CintrianLion does do that. Does end up discarding the sword to draw into 3 cards. Gets an extra point on the Erendite. The Morvad is worth more than the Erendite. The red sword is only worth 6 points, because I'm pretty sure it only killed a drone. But you do have, I mean, you do have a real juicy hand. Mistikal is guaranteed Morvad. Hey, Prawn, good to see you, by the way. Yeah, so now you mulligan Naglfar here, right? Okay, so the Naglfar will be for the Morva. The Royal Decree will just be for whatever's the best, whatever's the most advantageous unit here. I mean, I couldn't pilot this list consistently, Dathwin. Like, there's no way that I would consistently be able to pilot this list. So, always impressed to see somebody like CintrianLion just being a badass. Bringing rockstar decks like this. Ends up going Shoop first. Was looking for boost in hand and found it, which is good. Doesn't have a unit in hand though. CintrianLion continuing to be uninteractive. We now see a jam of the yeah, not being able to Fukusha the Flaminica because of the heat wave. I mean, if Mistikal doesn't have a heat wave there, then I actually think that CintrianLion may have an advantage here. The upside is that the heat wave is out as a tall punish, so you could now you're at least not as at least now whatever you play here, you could play whatever big body you want is not gonna die. Just ends up playing the Olaf to be able to soak up some of this damage. So this Olaf will actually play for 4. It'll play for 18, so that's not bad. But Mistikal is just going to discard all of his cards here to make sure that there's no value on the Erendite, no value on the Red Sword, no value on the leader, and CintrianLion will lose this matchup. Because the Morvid plus the leader charges is by itself is 21 points. So sad. So this is a really bad. Obviously, this is a terrible matchup for CintrianLion because this Mistikal had all of the cards that he needed to be successful here. Didn't even end up needing to play the 18-point Morvid, but you love to see CintrianLion trying to bring something different. Makes my heart happy to see it. CintrianLion had the P-Strike list, yeah. Yep, that Precision Strike list likes for red coin and is also probably good into this matchup because you can remove a lot of the Harmony engines. No Heat Wave in this list, though. No Heat Wave in CintrianLion's P-Strike list, since it's a Renfri list. So that does mean that if you're CintrianLion, you are incentivized to win round 1 and then bleed out the scenario. And as for Mistikal, you're incentivized to play everything except the scenario because a short round 3 scenario claps cheeks. We see CintrianLion draws a Brockvar Warrior, or a Sentinel rather, in hand. So a brick in hand. Hashtag feels bad, man, because a lot of times, especially from red coin with a P-Strike list, you are comfortable jamming your leader. Gives you the opportunity to win on even. So that will be made more challenging for CintrianLion in this Game 2 matchup. Meanwhile, Mistikal has Simless, Shiru, Percival, and Scenario in hand, so has a lot of the key cards, but from blue coin, knowing that he's going to get pushed, this can also be kind of challenging. So we see the Dana played first. If this elicits a lock, then Mistikal has a Purify in hand, and as we noted, plays double Sapper. CintrianLion knows that and knows that the odds are that Mistikal probably has the Purify, but you might still need to test with the lock. You could also conceivably play Dwarven Skirmisher here and let it live for one more turn, but that's pretty challenging. So we see instead CintrianLion putting a Chariot out on the board. Building some of that wide value, although doesn't have access to any of those payoff cards. We could also see it could be CintrianLion is setting up to play the Zoltan Warrior next turn when there are 2 units on board. The downside is that then if you jam full leader here in that scenario, then again you're missing out on a Sentinel Thin. So we see CintrianLion opting to ignore the Dana for now. Could end up getting Geralted next turn, but essentially opting to ignore the Dana. Potentially, it could be that because if you're CintrianLion, you're assuming that you're going to need to just play every card in your hand this round. And if you're willing to do that, then maybe you don't care as much about, like, it's not, you don't see the hand buff for Mistikal as carryover. Mistikal knows he needs to win the round, though, so, like, jamming a Percival here could be good. Percival, catch the infusion, and then click the stratagem. Yeah, it's worth a lot of points. We see a 27-8 lead. Mistikal opting to infuse the Brakvar, or the Skellige Neophyte there, potentially tempting damage onto this as opposed to onto one of the tall, making the tall units that are worth a removal taller. So the Geralt is there now, of course, for CintrianLion. Can also jam the Zoltan here. You could thin. Kind of, I think whatever this next card is going to tell us how committed CintrianLion is to this next round. That suggests to me that it's that CintrianLion is potentially you might even play, you could potentially play Gang here and then pass. You could play a Berserker, because Berserker plus Gang does get you out if Mistikal were to try to tempo pass, which he won't, because Mystikal's not going to want to give up last say. But I'm kind of surprised here because, yeah, so the Berserker play, sure. I'm kind of surprised here from CintrianLion just because I would have thought that, you know, maybe it's because of the brick leader in hand, but it's such a pain in the ass for you to deal with the scenario, to deal with a long round against Skellige with a scenario without Heatwave, right? But I guess maybe Renfri, leader, lock, like those things are good. Yeah, Mystikal's been playing really, really, really well this year in a bunch of the different competitive formats. I think that's a great call out. CintrianLion still has plenty of reach here, though. Gaining and losing a point per turn, so you get 12. You get 12 on the Gang if you want to play the Gucci Gang. We know that CintrianLion doesn't have. That's a terrible ping. You hate to see the ping go on the one place where it doesn't matter. We know that CintrianLion doesn't have the payoff in hand for the row stacking. Mystical doesn't know that, so Mystical's incentivized to play in because Great Oak obviously covers the distance. It's a 19-point card, an 18-point card. Ironically enough, if you're CintrianLion, you don't get ahead here if you Geralt the Percival. But there's also no more hand buff for Mistikal, right? There's a Treant on board, obviously an Elf on board. So the Dana is no longer a threat. And CintrianLion passes. So a Shiru at 5, a huge Willow, Scenario, and Simless. If you're Mystical, I don't think you could have asked for that to go better. You gave up. You played Dana for its carryover value. You played Percival, and you gave up a couple of cards that had some hand buff on them. But otherwise, you know, you played 2 4Ps, 3 4Ps, and got out of that round. And Big Bird is already at 9, which is great for you. So we should see the bird at, you know, 16 by the time we get done. Why is screen so bright? Why is so bright? Roach in hand, what is this, 2017? Yeah, if Mystical were to opt to bleed here, that would be bad. Obviously wants a long round though, so that's a plus. Pyrotechnic or a Rune Mage is probably the motive here. Hey Dave! Happy Sunday, friend. Good to see you. I was actually lurking, I was lurking in your stream a week ago? You were playing a game I'd never seen before. So, no Brehen, no Pavko yet for Mystical. But there are 2 bricks in the deck. And Mystical opts to only take the 1 mulligan. The Chameleon obviously is a great card. We don't expect it to live, but yeah. Yeah, how did you like it? Were you enjoying it? And now we see turn 1 scenario, and yeah, nine turns of the scenario being on board is always a hashtag feels bad, man. Oh, the release. Oh, we hate to hear about a rough release, but I'm glad it's been good. Fuck yeah. So because of the no Brehen and the access to movement, it makes sense to play the Weeping Willow back row, get the Harmony engine down early while also giving yourself, there is 1 poison in hand for Mystical to resolve. The poison with, obviously, knowing that armor, that second chariot, it also now means that you probably have to play the Zoltan now if you are CintrianLion, because there's no other way, right, for you to get armor on Zoltan Warrior if you want the one point per turn engine ping. You could potentially pair it with Rune Mage to get some value, but also no second Purify in hand for Mystical either, so the lock will probably get some legs here for CintrianLion as well. It's actually better than Diablo and more accessible than PoE in my opinion. Okay, so this should just be a poison, I would imagine. I guess you could also play the lock here, but okay. So we see the lock here so that Mystical doesn't have to play the Harmony engine on board yet as well. Fair enough. Unless a Rune Mage can pull off some, yeah. To be fair, I think Harmony would have too many points anyway, even if Lion draws perfectly. It's probably true. Mystical did miss Brehen and Pavko, though, so that helps, but the Shiru is just gonna rock everyone's world, right? We now see an insta backup plan from Mystical, which will take care of our boy. A fantastic find here with the Doblathana Archer. Finds a second Archer. Could also take a Farseer here, but instead we take double Archer. Archer is a fantastic choice. You go back row and front row respectively, which makes the Oak worse. I mean, what a huge point swing there, because Simless is still a stupid busted card. Misty drew everything with only one tutor. Yeah, exactly. If you played, and that's why, you know, if you played this on ladder, you would just, you know, it just wouldn't work that way, right? But it do be like that sometimes. We see another poison find here, also an engine. You might take the poison here so that way you can hold the dryad. You also don't need to resolve the poison, so you could just take the Witcher for the tempo. You expect it to die, but that's fine. It can die to 2-liter pings without the charges. Also eats the Antherian, eats the lock. We could see leader. And we do see full leader to take care of the Cat Witcher. Not wanting to block the front row, we do see a division of labor from CintrianLion putting the sentinels in the back row. I'm wondering the Shiru. So the Shiru is going to be able to. There's only 1/5 on the board to set up, but the Shiru could be 8. So the Shiru at 5 is actually really awkward for Mistikal, right? Because there's only 1/5 to set up on the opponent's side. You've got 2 5s on your side of the board, neither of which have harmony. So you play your without having leader access to do the other things. Mistikal opts to just save the 3 points of damage. We now see the Cyprian Wily. Slow, ain't ya? Yeah, Pavko is still in deck, and Brehen. And I think CintrianLion probably smells that the Brehen is not, because of that way that leader charge was used, probably smells that. Just a casual 10 for 4 devotion card. Nothing to see here from Oak Critters. A little late though. The Oak Critters only plays as an 8 for 4 here. No more talk of these things without saying hi to me. That's the Spud we know and love. Pavko and Brehen are still in deck for Mistikal, but of course, as we know, no Renfri for CintrianLion. So both players missing some top end here. But Great Oak is still in hand, but as promised, an 18-point bird is big, much bird. Mistikal will assumedly use a leader charge to kill this Cat Witcher. It's worth 5 points to leader charge it. But doesn't look like this wow. Mistikal got lucky on a couple of those pings though, because it would have made it so that the Shiru would have only been good. Like you wouldn't have, if the Simless and the token had both stayed at 5, then you would have really struggled to get value there. But at a minimum now, unless one of the pings goes on to there's no more random pings. So it looks like a leader charge on the Doragray plus the Shiru is probably the best use of the Shiru. Not even really sure if CintrianLion needs it though. Gonna have another click on the Chameleon. Can the Chameleon go down to 1? Speaking of Spud, we need to spread some democracy soon. Chad Biker from Warsaw, greater than some angry lady from a children's card game. Yeah, and that's the game. Ends up getting a Shiru at 11. Cintrian obviously played into it, but was also never winning. So Yeah, we see Mistikal from Blue Coin with a Blue Coin deck. CintrianLion missing the Renfri here. And we see here a 22-point win in Game 2. An invitational that runs a round-robin stage a la World Cup soccer for a couple of weeks. Football, to those of you non-Americans. It runs a couple of weeks worth of round-robin group play, and then plays into a win or go home format for the top competitive teams based on country. You can join the Discord. Let's see. You can join the Discord for it if you'd like to know more. It is community driven. That is correct. You can join the Discord to learn more, and then also I have a flyer that I will absolutely share with you as you go. But yeah, it's 100% community driven, and many of the top and most fun players and streamers in Gwent are participating. So it's been fucking awesome. So Maytol is #legend. In this game 3, where CintrianLion needs to win to stay alive, opts again to try and take the Skellige list. Again, Mistikal is playing a list with Heatwave, and the Heatwave is in hand. Red Sword in hand for CintrianLion, and we see a insta Red Sword, so that Mad Dog is banished. The downside is now that means that the Phoenix will play. And you can conceivably Letho the Phoenix, although it would have to be a bit of a high roll in order to do that in this round, because the Roderick will show you 2 golds, and there's 5 golds in deck, so it's not a high probability of YOLOing into Letho for double Phoenix, but we'll see what happens. CintrianLion could also probably be convinced to just kill this Phoenix now, so that it doesn't, both for the 4 points of vitality, to deny the 4 points of vitality, and to prevent it from being copied. And we do see that using the Shoop. So Red Sword and Shoop, and then you probably, if you're... So Mistikal opting to play low and slow here. If you're CintrianLion, I think you want to play one more card. I think you want to get Compass before you Lippy here, I think. And or play one more, at least play one more card, right? So that then you can flip your deck. CintrianLion is going to draw into the Red Sword, so you could conceive. I guess if you're Cintrian, you could be convinced to Lippy next round as well, right? So we do see the snap. We do see the snap Lippy. That put the Compass in the graveyard. So Cintrian will draw into 3 cards next round. And then we'll want to bleed so that you can have second form Delirium, second form Erendite, second Echo Compass, I think would be the motive. And opts here to go down the card here to take the Squirrel. Go down a second card, take a Squirrel. Yeah, Gwent is definitely still one of the best competitive card games at the moment, for sure. That is absolutely, I agree, that is absolutely correct. Maytol just says Gwent dead. Even dead Gwent is better than a lot of the alternatives. I'm fine with a closed pool of cards. I wish there, yeah, it'd be nice if there was a little more flexibility, but it makes sense that there can't be because of the coding. Like I think there's like one human. I'm not actually sure. Maytol probably knows how the back end of this works, but I think it's like still like Ryan Godric or something. There's like a human being that verifies that the game changes month over month work properly. But that's just my guess. So, if you're CintrianLion, you don't have a deck. And you're down 2 cards. You do have 3 Echo cards. And opponent doesn't play a squirrel.
Stop your yapping and start digging.
I still don't get why Compass has changed provisions like 3 or 4 times. I understand the 1 push to get it from 9 to 10 out of Kecker range, but I agree, I don't understand the 11. Like, I don't understand what was the... At 10 provisions, what is so toxic about Compass? Because you have to build an entire deck around the strat for it to work. It's either discard or hyper thin, Lippy. Guy on the hill, welcome in, friend. So obviously, we know that Mistikal has the Karathi Heatwave in hand, which will clap the Flaminica. Also, the Ramon, having the Ramon, Nausicaa, and a Slave Driver in hand. I mean, it's just going to be really hard. Now, there is a dead Bearification in hand for Mistikal. But... And otherwise, if you're CintrianLion, you can play around a lot of the other bombs, right? So Compass back to 8. Yeah, I mean it doesn't. It's just that like nerfing Controlled to 11 didn't make it stop being played, but it did. It does take away from the flexibility of the deck, right? Same thing with Compass. Like, it just makes Compass decks a little bit less flexible to nerf a provision, to nerf a provision, but I also don't understand the purpose. Like, more importantly, I don't. Getting Compass from 9 to 10 makes sense to get it out of Kecker decks, but then what did nerfing it from 10 to 11 do? I don't know. I don't understand. Yeah, exactly, Berenice. That would be my thought too, is that it's like you didn't really solve anything. Feels like we could have used that change slot to do something more efficient. Yeah, what's up, Kareem? Good to see you, friend. Rev's got the right idea. Yeah, I mean, the thing is like you're gonna have to play your gold. You're gonna have to play your Roderick here for something to Bearification, and then you're gonna have to click it to get value potentially.
Well, thank you very much. Can I be in charge for a while?
Rubares.
Sir, yes, sir.
Welcome to the War Room, friend. It's good to have you. Oh, Cintrian or Mistikal does not find. So Mistikal could make their own Madoc now. They could get back a Madoc with the Letho, which is what I assume is going to happen, but didn't find an artifact. And because there was no artifact, they have a dead Bearification in hand. So they did get an extra, presumably 6 points off of the Letho into the Madoc. But depending on how far Cintrian pushes here, I mean, you're gonna need to play the Erendite. You'll get back 3 cards if you play the Erendite, so at least you'll have, cards in your deck. We see Compass here. Is there a banish option? It's just a Smorkvarg. Is that really the best possible thing that could have been played there? I really wanted people to buff forgotten cards. Yeah, I mean, we did see Cyprian Wiley played last in the last game. So yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say J Will's on the right track. There have been a lot of cards that like hadn't seen play. Like Oak Critters didn't really see play, right? And we saw that come out as well. You're never getting last say back if you're CintrianLion. So as a result, I wonder if you ever... So you have a 1 in 3 chance if you play the Erendite now for it to boost the Madoc. You'd like to keep the Madoc on the board so that way when the click here could end up netting you positive points. Instead, we see CintrianLion opt to play the Erendite, but there's a dead card. I think CintrianLion wins. 22. 6 is 16. Red Haze plays for 8. Dead Bearification does nothing. The Nausicaa is a 10, so it'd be 10 in both leader charges. The Heat Wave doesn't get you the Heat Wave plus both leader charges also. So either way, this is a 10 and this is a 9. I'm sorry, I forgot. This is a 9. So this would have been 16. Okay, so if CintrianLion had played the Flaminica, which would have traded to the Heat Wave, then full leader plus Nausicaa plus and then the Dead Bearification would have been enough points. Anyway, so either way, it's a wash. War Council, Truffle, Second Sergeant. It's a pretty good hand. Illusionist could be for a Hofru, which could play for positive points. You might kick it. Kicks the Bearification. So Mistikal does find a bomb, which is at least worth 9. Does not find War Council. So the bottom 2 cards in Mystikal's deck were War Council and Truffle. So the Truffle would have played for so many more points than with the Illusionist plus the... I mean, it plays for 10... Essentially for 10 on deploy plus whatever the Illusionist would have gotten. Wow, wow, wow. Hey, Manginum. Good to see you, friend. Bounce councils have been fairly... Yeah, I agree. I think they've been fairly effective. I think the community is also figuring out how to communicate with each other, right? Like, there's language barriers, there's geographic barriers, and that's before you ever talk about, like, people just disagreeing on what to do in the terms of the changes, and I think we're figuring out how to communicate those things. CintrianLion doesn't know that there's no Truffle, so opts to take the Red Sword into the Madoc. This is also, of course, good because it denies Savage Bearer value here. We know that this bomb then would play down, which is good. Only thing that CintrianLion's got to be careful about is having a unit on the board that's not Flaminica, because we know that the Flaminica is going to trade for the Heat Wave, so that whatever comes off of this Delirium needs to live. Looks like it will. So we should now see... We could see the Corrupted Flaminica here. I think makes sense from CintrianLion because, yeah, if opponent has the Heat Wave, they have the Heat Wave, and if they don't, they don't. Okay. We'll now see the Delirium. Is there... I don't think that there is a Bride of the Sea target, so this is pretty terrible. I don't think so. That sucks. If this is even a Hofru, then this is good, right? So, CintrianLion has 18 points left. Mistikal will be able to play Vigo into a Slave Driver into a Nausicaa Sergeant for because it's stupid. And a sad day for CintrianLion, doesn't quite get there. If this is a Fukusha, then there's a win. We still see the Nausicaa played here off of the Vigo for, whatever, 10 points. 11, 12? Yeah. So CintrianLion brings a really interesting deck. Can't get it through, plays into 2 hyper control lists. Can't get it through twice. The second time, you know, Mistikal missed two good cards there at the end, but the Delirium low roll of either taking a 4 or a -5 really did in CintrianLion there. So good games from both players. Really appreciate the effort from both, and a lot of fun. Good games all.